So we are discussing about lasers. Now, as before we again discuss the other part of it, let me tell you that in the book War of the Worlds, written before the turn of the century, H.G. Wells told about a fanciful story. I don't know whether you have read about that book or you have watched the adaptation of that book as a movie of the same name, War of the Worlds. And there are so many adaptations of this particular story in different books and different films. The basic thing was that the story was of how Martians invaded and almost conquered Earth. Their weapon was a mysterious sword of heat from which flickered a ghost of beam of light. A ghost of beam of light, which when uh, falls on a person, the person is just melted, it becomes fume. It can make a lead run like water and cut through anything combustible into masses of flame. So to understand, this is the at the this story was written at the turn of the century, and hopefully understand that that ghost of beam of light is nothing but what we understand by laser. Due to its high intensity, laser can cut through anything which is combustible. If a CO2 laser fall on a human being, the human would be vaporized. So, you understand that imagination precedes reality. Okay, so let's come back to our discussion. In the previous day, we have talked about three types of processes by which light interacts with matter. And the first one we called as stimulated absorption process. And in stimulated absorption process, what happens that we know from Boltzmann statistics that lower energy levels are generally occupied by atoms. So if we understand there are so many atoms in the lower energy level. If I say this is lower energy level E1 and this one is a high energy level E2. Though there are so many discrete quantized energy levels in any atom or in a cluster of atoms, here for simplicity we are considering only two energy levels. One, the lower energy level, which is maybe the ground state, and the other one is any excited energy level. It's any excited energy level. It may be first excited, second excited, third excited, whatever. Now, if you supply energy, now if the energy is in terms of light, that means a photon is incident, and if the frequency of the photon is such that, so if the frequency of the photon is E2 minus E1, that is the energy gap by H, that means the photon carries the energy h nu, which is same as the separation between this energy gap. Then an atom in lower energy level absorb that photon and excite it to the high energy level. Please remember, the atom doesn't do this process by itself. It doesn't do it spontaneously. It is excited by the energy of the photon. Since you are supplying a particular amount of energy to this atom, then only the atom may absorb that energy and gets excited. Gets excited means its energy is increased. That means if we say atom is A, it takes a photon of energy h nu and gets excited, A star. Now, whatever atom gets excited to high energy level, so now we have some atoms which are excited to high energy level, but they do not want to stay there for long. Within 10 to the power minus 8 seconds, they will come down. That is the lifetime of the atom in the higher energy level. That means this is the time the atoms generally stay in higher energy level. They do not prefer to stay. So they will automatically, spontaneously de-excited into lower energy level. So from E2 to E1, they come down spontaneously without any external help. And that's why we call it as spontaneous emission process. It is emission because whenever the atom comes down, that means whenever it is de-excited, it releases some energy. So it's an emission process. It emits energy. And if that energy is emitted in light, in terms of light energy, that means radiation is emitted, a photon is emitted, then we call it a spontaneous emission process. And in spontaneous emission process, whatever photons are emitted, that means suppose there are so many atoms in the high energy level, now all of them are coming down. And whenever they are coming down, each is now emitting some photon. Each is now emitting some photons of energy h nu. Again, h nu will be same as the energy difference between the two levels. But these photons which are emitted by the spontaneous emission process are going in random direction. They are moving at random in arbitrary direction. There is no phase matching condition among them. That means they are not coherent with each other. They are not coherent with each other. There is no condition of phase matching. That means you cannot say that they have same or constant phase. You cannot say that their phase difference between any two photons is constant with time. You cannot say. And if you remember polarization, which you studied in class 11 or 12, optical polarization, they do not possess the same state of polarization also. That means if one is say right circular polarized, another will be elliptically polarized, another will be linearly polarized. So there is no particular state of polarization which is fixed for all of these photons. So this type of emission process can only be used if we want to illuminate our room. That means for light source, this is possible. But if we want the source to be used for communication purpose, then we cannot use it, because we know that for communication purpose, we require 4 conditions to be maintained. The source must emit light of highly coherent beam, highly monochromatic, highly directional, highly intense, which are not possible here. Now, we have the third process. Okay, here, if you have the A star, that is high excited atom, A star, it releases h nu amount of energy and becomes A only. It is normal atom, not excited. So Einstein predicted the third types of interaction, which is called stimulated emission. According to Einstein, it is just like stimulated absorption process, but in the opposite direction. That means here also we have some atoms in the higher excited state, higher energy level. We have some atoms which are moved by absorption process. Now, these atoms are de-excited to lower energy level by spontaneous emission method. Apart from spontaneous emission method, sometimes there is a other process called stimulated emission, which is that in stimulated emission, the atoms do not get de-excited automatically, spontaneously. They do not do it spontaneously. What is done? If a photon comes of right amount of energy means the energy of the photon should be same as the separation between the two energy levels. That means h nu again equals to E2 minus E1. So if that photon comes, then it stimulates an atom in high energy level. This photon stimulates an atom in high energy level, so that this atom is now de-excited. And whenever it de-excited, energy is decreased, energy is reduced, and that amount of energy which is reduced is emitted as a single photon again. So now we have two photons. One, the original photon, this photon, the original one, this remains. Apart from this initial photon, apart from the stimulating photon, you have another photon released now. Now that is the beauty of stimulated emission. Now we have two photons, one the stimulating photon, another one the emitted photon. Now these two photons, must move in the same direction. They're highly directional. They have same phase, so highly coherent, and they have same state of polarization. That means if one is circularly polarized, the other must be circularly polarized. If one is linearly polarized, the other will be linearly polarized. And since they are moving in a single direction, they can be trapped and the number of photons can be increased. We will discuss that process. That means amplification is also possible. And if we can amplify the number of photons, if I can increase the number of photons, more photons means more energy. More energy means more intensity. We can get high amount of intensity. So, in case of stimulated emission process, an excited atom is stimulated by a stimulating photon, so that the atom is now de-excites by releasing of another photon. That's why now we have two photons. One the initial photon, another the released photon. So to understand it, I told you about a tall building of say 20th floor. Though that is not the actual case, but as I told you that sometimes we can think of some example which will be much simplifier form of reality, so that we understand the reality. So here in the 20th floor building, though there is a lift, but the owner of the building doesn't allow any person to use that lift. Now that building is for rent, so whenever the people are buying the different flats of that building, so since they cannot use the lift, lower floors are occupied by people. So ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor, maximum fourth floor will be occupied. From fifth floor onward, all the flats are empty. Okay, so up to 20th floor, maximum floors are empty because people do not want to stay there. Because people always try to preserve their energy. They do not want to waste their energy through the stairs. Now, one day, the owner of the building calls for a meeting at 20th floor. So automatically, no one is interested to attend that meeting. So owner of the building allures people, stimulates people by an offer. He said that those who will attend the meeting will get some special offers. So due to that, so now so you understand, the owner of the building is alluring people with some form of energy. So this is the energy supplied by the owner. How? By some offer. So that people try to take that offer. And by taking that offer, now people will come from lower floors to 20th floor. So it is just like absorption process. By taking the suitable amount of energy only, atoms get excited. Now, as soon as the meeting is over, people do not want to stay, just like these atoms. Somehow you have managed to move the atoms in high energy level, but they do not want to stay there. That's why within 10 to the power minus 8 seconds, they generally come down automatically, spontaneously to the lower energy levels. Same thing here. The people, as soon as the meeting is over, will try to go to their respective floors spontaneously. No one is saying them to go, but they will do that by themselves. And they will take different routes to go from 20th to their respective floor. Say some people stay at ground floor. So those people do not, you cannot say that all of those people will come down in the same direction from 20th to ground floor. They will take different paths. One will take, say, westbound stairs, some will take eastbound stair, and so and so. So they are moving in different directions. Just like these photons which are emitted, they are moving at random in arbitrary directions. When the people are coming down, they have different speeds and they are taking different routes. So if you are at the ground floor, what you will observe? You will observe different people are coming at different time. Different people are coming to the ground floor at different times. Therefore, there is no phase matching condition among them. There is phase difference between any two, and that phase difference is not constant. Suppose first person comes at a time, and next person comes after 2 minutes. Third person comes after 3 minutes. Fourth person comes after 7 minutes. So there is no phase matching condition. Different people are coming at different time. So they are completely incoherent, just like these photos. There is no phase matching condition among these photos. Now, since the process is going at a random way, now the owner of the building says, he was looking at that process from ground floor, say, now he asks one of that member, one of the flat owner at ground floor, that please take this lift, go to the 20th floor, please call all the others who are at 20th floor still now, and with the lift you may come to ground floor. So one person, just like this photo now, goes to 20th floor, goes to the 20th floor, calls all the people there, and together they come down to the ground floor with the help of the lift. Now they are coming down with the lift all at a time. So what do you think about the direction? All are coming down together. Therefore, they have same direction, highly directional. From the ground floor, what the owner of the building will watch, you will observe that all are coming down at the same time because of the lift. All are using the lift. So they will come down to the ground floor at the same time. That means they are completely coherent with each other. Just like these photons here. Therefore, we observe that in case of spontaneous emission, there is no phase matching condition, there is no directionality among those photons. But in stimulated emission, it is stimulated because the people at 20th floor spontaneously are coming down by themselves. Now you are stimulating them to come. You have asked one person to go to 20th floor, and that person actually stimulate all the other people to come together with the help of the lift, so that we get the stimulated emission. And when stimulated emission occurs, when people are coming down with the lift, then only they have the same direction and phase matching condition is maintained. They have the same phase because they are coming at the same time. There is no path difference between them. So there is no phase difference between them. So this is our three process: stimulated absorption, spontaneous emission, and stimulated emission. And we understand, if we want to construct our light source for communication purpose, then we need to focus on stimulated emission rather than spontaneous emission. That means in other words, most of the atoms should be de-excited. That means most of the atoms will come down from high energy level to low energy level through the process of stimulated emission rather than spontaneous emission. Though spontaneous emission is normal process which occurs spontaneously, but we want stimulated emission to occur, and that's why it is so hard that we had to wait more than 100 years until Meimer constructed the first Ruby laser. Because we know the process, but how to achieve that process, that is difficult. That means generally spontaneous emission dominates over stimulated emission. But now we'll understand how to make stimulated emission more than spontaneous emission. And for that, first we need to know that the transition rates. That means if we think about stimulated absorption process, then we have discussed that rate of absorption process. The rate of absorption process, which we say PAB. PAB is the rate. Rate means number of atoms per unit volume from lower energy level E1 moves to high energy level E2 per unit time. That is the rate of stimulated absorption, and that rate depends on how many atoms per unit volume are present in lower energy level. So if in the lower energy level N1 number of atoms per unit volume are present, then this rate depends on N1. It depends on the amount of energy you supply in the photon. That means it depends on the energy density of the photon. So it depends on these two quantities. So this rate proportional to N1 and U nu. U nu is the energy density of the photon. Energy per unit volume of the photon. So if I use the proportionality constant is B12, which is called Einstein's B coefficient. This B12 is actually a probability of occurrence of stimulated absorption. This is the probability. This tells us about the probability of occurrence. And PAB is the rate, how fast the atoms per unit volume are moving from lower to higher energy. Similarly, when you talk about spontaneous emission, the rate of spontaneous emission, that means the number of atoms per unit volume which are moving from higher energy level E2 to E1 per unit time, depends on the number of atoms present in higher energy level per unit volume. Into here, remember please, this number is not just the number, it's number per unit volume. That means its unit is 1 by meter cube. So it depends only on the number. Therefore, the proportionality constant we say A21. That is called Einstein A coefficient. We'll talk about more about A21, which will actually tells us about the lifetime of the atoms in a high energy level. If I know this, we know the lifetime, or vice versa. And the third process, stimulated emission. This rate of stimulated emission, just like absorption process, depends on the number. So here the process starts from E2 to E1. So number depends. This rate depends on the number N2. It also depends on the energy density of the photon, which is stimulating the atom. So it depends on N2 U nu, and that proportionality constant is B21. Why I am writing B21 here and here B12? In absorption process, the process or transition goes from lower to higher, 1 to 2. And here in emission process, the transition occurs from 2 to 1. That's why we are writing B21. So B21 again tells us the probability of occurrence of stimulated emission. That means generally B21 is very small. The probability of occurrence of stimulated emission is very small. Now, first